if you think about it, a lot of the Islamophobias or the verses that they use and they kind of denigrate the Quran, they say, do not take Jews and Christians as your friends. That's a common translation. Well, if you're a Muslim African American, most of your family members are Christians. So if I was a new convert and I read this and it says this, I probably would put the book down. But that's a kind of a awkward translation of that. It's saying to the reader, you should not allow others to be responsible or have a vested interest in your religion. The Christians have a vested interest in their religion, the Jews have a vested interest in their religion, so you're to have a vested interest in your religion. I shouldn't depend on a Christian to tell me what time to pray. I'm a Muslim, I pray 5 times a day. I can't put that in their hands to be responsible for that. I have to be responsible for that myself. And when you start to think of that, where the term that they use as friend is kind of, you shouldn't translate it that way, you should use patron. And to give you an example of this, there's a tradition in Islam where they say you have a wali. And this tradition is sort of like times gone past where a young man, he would be interested in a young woman, and he would have enough respect to go to her parents and say, hey, I want your daughter's hand in marriage. And the parents would, you know, critique the guy, look the gentleman over and see if he was worthy of his daughter. So he had the father had a vested interest in it. This is the same kind of idea when we say don't take Jews and Christians as that, to have that vested interest or that type of friend. If you start to look at that on a much bigger scale or broader picture, all of us should take some kind of vested interest
in our religion.
Whatever we associate ourselves with, if we're African Americans, we should take some kind of vested interest in our own community and its development. We can't depend on others to take the lead for us in our community and its development. So.
And so in a real sense, it's sort of a self-recognition, a self-realization kind of thing in terms of your religion, your attitude toward your religion. Is that what we're saying?
Oh, absolutely. And I'd like to continue the conversation by sharing a translation of some of the verses from our text. You know, the text that we use is called the Holy Quran, originally revealed in Arabic. But you know, one of the translations of one of the verses, you know, God says, "O man, you know, we have created you from a single male and female, you know, as in Adam and Eve, and then made you into nations and tribes. And for what reason? Nations and tribes, so that you can know one another." And the translation of that principle, to know one another, it's an Arabic word, ta'arruf, which really means to acknowledge or to recognize. The point being, he's created differences in creed or religion or race or skin tone or whatever it is that we happen to be, so that we can recognize the good in each other, so that we can benefit from each other. That's the point. And then the verse goes on to say that the most honored of you in God's sight are the most righteous. You know, those people who are regardful of God first, people who are regardful of their human nature, people who are regardful of their obligations to each other. It's not the person who has the most ability to impose his will on another group. It's not the person who has the most wealth. It's not the person who has the baddest weapons. It's the person who has the strongest human sentiment, and they are able to benefit other people through their works and their actions. You know, this is sort of the way we see. This is the prism through which we see issues of brutality and racism. You know, and all of the you know, and all of the terrible, brutish bullying and discourse that you see in the media about African Americans, about Muslims, about Islam, and otherwise. We tend to see it through you know, what I consider to be a human prism. These are human problems. Racism is a symptom of a much bigger problem. You know, we feel that you know, people who perpetrate these kinds of crimes, of oppression and brutality and hate and that sort of thing. These things come as a result of underdeveloped human sentiment. All right, and they spill out and they work their way through and they manifest themselves through racism.
And something is wrong with an individual who is a racist. Is that what we're saying essentially? Because that's something that's contrary to the human, should be contrary to the human experience.
Absolutely.
But if you go out and you're a racist and et cetera, it says more about you, excuse me, than about the religion that you are trying to condemn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything?
And of course, we've got about 2.5 or 3 minutes here to give the two of you opportunities to make some additional statements in reference to.
So you asked a question. You said that it was up to the individual or to bring this into realization. So one thing that I've learned